This is not the first time this has happened. When the Fox News guy's like, how do you contend with the fact that the guy that you're kind of hyping up laughed about striking workers being fired, which is, you know, illegal. I'm saying it. Yeah, here. This is what according to Alex Thompson from the Axios reporting, or the New York Times reporting. New York Times reported in Harris' meeting with them Monday. She told the union, I want your endorsement, but if I don't get it, I will treat you exactly if I had gotten your endorsement. That's what Kamala Harris said. After the meeting, Mr. O'Brien said that he still needed time to consider the union's next move. Ms. Harris opened the meeting by saying she understood she might not get the union's endorsement and that some Teamsters will be voting on issues beyond labor, such as the border, according to another person in the room. I think one of the worst aspects of the Teamsters, which is like, you know, which has, again, 1.3 million fucking members, is that I fear that there is not a lot of education occurring inside of the union beyond, you know, just here, Trump. Let's hear what Sean O'Brien.
I've been looking forward to this interview for some time, especially given the last-minute drama. I'm talking about a chat with Sean O'Brien. He is the Teamsters General President. We've talked to him many times.
I think no matter what he says, he'll couch it under like doing right by his rank and filers. But I genuinely think it's like culture war shit. Maybe I'm wrong. Okay, maybe I'm wrong, but I think it is 100% culture war shit. I think he's just like a little bit of a weirdo on this front. Republicans are making inroads on what? Labor issues? What? No, they're not. Dude, shut the f up. Hey, guys, stop. Okay? Wake the f up. Republicans are not making any inroads on labor issues. The Democratic Party barely makes any inroads on labor issues. If you ever think that the Republican Party is actually going to make any concessions to labor unions, oh, you mean Long Island? Oh, okay. I thought when you said LI, you meant, I'm sorry. I thought you meant labor issues. I apologize. Anyway, like Teamsters, like other states and their own Teamsters unions are endorsing the Democratic Party. But like, God, I hate this conversation so much because it comes across like I'm defending the Democratic Party when I'm absolutely not. But if you look at a duopoly as a labor union and you look at either party, one party is actually offering limited amounts of concessions to the labor unions. The other party is trying to gut it. Okay. The other party is just desperately trying to gut it, openly gutting it, laughing about the idea of striking, firing striking workers. That's what Donald Trump did with Elon Musk. These are two billionaires, dude. Get the out of here. Like, if it was about like a very obvious policy agenda, that's one thing. If Sean O'Brien was coming out, okay, if Sean O'Brien came out and was like, listen, I wanted assurances on the PRO Act. I wanted card check. You're wrong. Sean O'Brien asked Kamala. Okay, dude. Mark Wayne Mullen. Okay, stop.
Over the years, and he speaks his mind. That's why I'm a little surprised by this news today that the Teamsters will not be officially endorsing a presidential candidate. So I thought to myself, Neil, when you talk to Sean, ask him how a guy who was invited to speak before Republicans at their convention, but didn't get the same honor at the Democratic convention, could decide not to support the Republican.
They definitely should have welcomed him as a speaker at the, God, they should have definitely welcomed him as a speaker at the DNC. God, the DNC is so bad. The Democratic Party is so stupid. But that's like, that's besides the point. Still, again, like they are not on the whims of like one man's personal animus or his own personal pet project or whatever the like. That's ridiculous too, because you need to do right by your rank and file members, and I feel like this is just like stupid.
Can nominate, and here he is, Sean O'Brien. Good to have you, Sean. Why not? Why not Donald Trump?
How are you, sir? Well, listen, we interviewed both candidates, and we were seeking commitments from both candidates, and we couldn't get solid.
By the way, I forgot to run the 3-minute ad break after saying I was going to run it at the top of the hour, so I'm running it now.
Commitments on our core issues, like the PRO Act, like veto and national right to work, like staying out of labor disputes and not trying to force any contracts on us, like what happened to our brothers and sisters in the rail industry. We didn't get solid commitments from either candidate, which was a major factor in our decision.
Like this, him using this is ridiculous. Okay. Him saying the rail, like our brothers and sisters of the railroad union, is ridiculous because those unions endorsed the Democratic Party, and those unions were happy with the concessions that the Democratic Party pushed for after forcing them back to work. So like that, like he knows that, bro. You're a labor leader. Like you are literally, you are straight up the labor union leader. You know exactly what happened. You know what the attitude looks like amongst the railroad unions. So you're wrong. Everybody always tells me I'm wrong on this. Oh my God. Everybody always tells me I'm wrong, and then they never tell me how I'm wrong. Okay? We have the same exact conversation every goddamn time. Every goddamn time.
Decision as a general executive board not to endorse any candidate. However, we did a lot of polling, as you know, and the polling leaned heavily towards former President Trump. So that tells you that
very heavily, Sean. And I'm just wondering, do you look disconnected from your members?
No, we're definitely not disconnected from our members because, look, we did extensive polling that was important. Our goal as leaders, as union leaders, as leader of the Teamsters.
Harris is going to break future strikes. That's why she didn't get their endorsement. Man, shut the f up. Look, labor unions are not the same as like the average person that's going to go out and vote. Okay. The harm reduction conversation absolutely is a major player. Sean O'Brien should extract concessions from the Democratic Party. That is perfectly valid and the smart thing to do. But the notion that like he is openly in the tank in the most cowardly way possible for the Republican Party is unimaginably wrong. Okay? Because like in this circumstance, you're when he is leaning on one side and saying like, oh, well, our rank and filers love Donald Trump. They're big fans of Donald Trump. I couldn't be at odds with our rank and filers. Okay. When he says that, it implies that Donald Trump wouldn't do that.
Is to provide the ability for people to have a voice and to provide credible information. And we cannot dictate to our members. Our members are sophisticated. They're going to make their own decisions. But this is a bigger problem. You know, the Democrats have always taken for granted that they're going to get our vote no matter what. And the Republicans are fancying themselves as the working people's party. I think right now both sides have to take a step back and really reevaluate what their commitment is to working people. And that's what we did in this process.
All right, but it does make me wonder when 2 out of 3 of your members prefer Donald Trump. Now, it's a telephone survey, I grant that, but that trend has been around for a while where members tend to favor more the Republican candidate than the Democratic candidate, but that's a pretty overwhelming shutout right there. So
well, I think
did that come into your thinking or no?
We evaluated everything. We evaluated the straw poll, which was done in person, which, as you know.
Here, I'll give you some background from Jacobin on the straw poll. Okay. The original straw poll was conducted from April 9th through July 3rd in union halls and was organized entirely by local union leadership. From anecdotal evidence, it seems that only a small minority of locals took time to mobilize and educate their membership on these votes, the stakes of the election, and the meaning of the polls. As a result, mainly active and engaged members who tend to lean Democrat showed up. This poll indicated that members backed then Democratic Party nominee Joe Biden, 43%, to Trump's 36%. Immediately following this poll, the IBT leadership announced another poll, this one online, that would supplement the in-person straw poll. There was a lot of speculation that this online poll was commissioned to counteract the results of the straw poll. There is no way of knowing whether that is true, but its results do indeed contradict the straw poll's results. This poll went heavily for Trump. Conducted between July 24th and September 15th, members voted 59.6% for Trump and only 34% for Democratic nominee Kamala Harris. This pattern itself, a wild swing from Biden to Trump, doesn't actually tell us very much. In fact, it confirms the suspicion held among many demographers and pollsters that engaged and active members of organizations lean to the left. Votes that take place in person self-select for the kind of people who have higher levels of institutional trust and a higher commitment to political action. That is, they select for people who seem more like Kamala Harris voters. The online vote does just the opposite. So what about the phone research poll? This poll had Harris losing as well by a wide margin, with 58% for Trump and only 31% for Harris. Unlike the other two polls, this one was conducted on September 15th by a third-party polling firm, Lake Research Partners, which describes itself as progressive. If the firm is reputable, it would have taken a random group of the entire voting eligible membership and produced a representative sample. There is no reason to doubt that it did this. Therefore, it's quite likely that 58% of Teamsters support Trump. This finding would be consistent with the fact that some 56% of non-college educated voters overall support Trump, according to the Times Siena poll from September 8th. Now, the puzzle is why. We don't need to rehearse the litany of sins Trump has committed against labor: his National Labor Relations Board appointments, his closeness to union-busting billionaires, his comments encouraging the illegal firing of striking workers. The list goes on. So why would so many union voters still vote for him? The answer is threefold. First, inflation. There's no getting around it. Levels of inflation have been historic. Whether they are the fault of the president and vice president is almost irrelevant. Voters, especially working class voters, are blaming them. Second, the Teamsters, and they are far from alone in this, have not made it a priority to educate and mobilize his membership on political issues. This is the most consequential aspect of the Teamsters. Okay? A lot of the other labor unions don't just talk about their contracts or whatever, but they also play the role of educating and mobilizing their entire rank and file, their entire membership. This is why unions are a very powerful force in politics, or they're supposed to be a very powerful force in politics. Okay? That is the other aspect of labor unions that's very important. Teamsters don't necessarily do that as much. Obviously some local chapters differ, but overall, across the board, it seems like they're not doing this at all. In the past 4 years, the union has rarely made an effort to explain or motivate its distinct political interests in the upcoming presidential election. Most local union presidents, and this is true in almost all unions, avoid talking politics for fear of offending their members or causing arguments among their membership, which again is kind of ridiculous if you look at the history of unions, but understandable if you look at the history or the recent history of unions in the United States of America, where neither party is like overtly defending their interests, with the exception of this last candidacy, with the exception of this last president. I will stand on this. Joe Biden's NLRB is one of the best NLRBs in recent history. Joe Biden has been more progressive and more pro-labor than any other contemporary U.S. president. That is 100% correct. The Democratic Party's messaging reflects this as well. And yes, it is incredibly important to stand on the picket line. It is incredibly important for the bully pulpit to be applied towards being pro-labor and specifically being pro-union. This is absolutely correct. Okay? If you guys think that that is not the case, you are delusional. Okay? The bully pulpit is perhaps one of the most consequential aspects of the presidency. Look at the way that the bully pulpit was applied when Donald Trump was president. It was applied in a way to be as racist and vitriolic and instill racial animus amongst the working class in the United States of America. And the outcome was Nazis taking off the Klan's robes, taking off the masks, and protesting in the streets with their faces open, out in the open. Okay? They felt emboldened. They felt galvanized. Why? Because Donald Trump hyped them up, okay, with what he said and what he refused to say. The same goes in the other direction for labor unions with the American president. Okay? What do you mean when you say bully pulpit? Thank you. Bully pulpit is just like what the presidential platform. If the president goes up there and on the most consequential platform is the leader of the free world, says shit like unions are important, they're the backbone of this economy, that is incredibly important. Okay? That is very consequential. The need for unity is incredibly important for a union, and so it makes good sense to avoid topics that might cause division. Still, the failure of union leadership to really articulate what working class interests are and how the parties help or harm those interests is a factor. Such political education should be a monthly part of the union's activities and not relegated to a few short meetings in the year of a high-stakes presidential election. Finally, and most important, the Democratic Party has done a miserable job of trying to identify with the working class. Many, if not most, on the left will offer an exasperated reply to this charge, insisting that the Democrats are so much better for workers and unions. Yes, that is obvious from a policy perspective, but leading liberals take for granted that workers are people too. It's no secret that the Democratic Party's image, interests, and value system are far closer to the upper middle class liberals than they are of the average working class. Oh, I hate this article. This article makes it seem like one of the I think Teamsters might be the largest North American labor union, actually, if not one of the, but I think it is the largest. This article does the classic, idiotic, I can't believe I'm reading a Jacobin article and I'm criticizing it this much. I don't know who the wrote this. Dustin Guastella. I'm shocked. Does the classic shit that runs with the assumption that labor unions are not unimaginably diverse, okay, comprised of people from every different background. I hate the idea that labor unions are comprised of people who are inherently reactionary and also all white. That is so stupid. That is just far from the truth. In a country where the labor union participation rates for black people is higher than labor union participation rates for white people. Okay? I just want to bring this up one more time. This is a very important fact for people that don't know. There are a higher rate of unionized black workers than there are a higher rate of unionized white workers. Okay? The notion that the Democratic Party on cultural issues, okay, are, doing fancy footwork for like bicoastal liberal elites is ridiculous. When the Democratic Party talks, they don't even do that anymore, but when they used to talk about black issues, or when they used to talk about trans issues, when they used to talk about, gay rights or whatever, the notion that this was liberal elites and not reflective of not by pure numbers, chatter, of course, per capita. What are you saying? I said the labor participation rate. What do you think that is? The labor participation rate. Yes, of course, not higher across the board. There are 13% of the population is black. Obviously, there aren't more black people in any field than there are white people. There's just more white people in this country. Okay. Anyway, just clarifying, but it's fine. Let's get back to it. Okay. But once again, gay people, black people, queer people, lesbians, trans people, they are what makes the entire American labor force. Okay? That's it. So just understand that. Wait, what? The Maltese leftists, there's this article about the railroad workers voting down the new contracts as given by Biden. No, this is before. You're sending me an article before what happened, not after. You're sending me an article about what happened you sent me an article about the potential largest rail union contract, and not after Biden actually forced them back to work and then went back and extracted concessions from the railroad companies and the managers, who then turned around and offered some of the concessions. Okay? Biden, after this unfolded, Biden and even Pete Buttigieg, I hate to recognize this, and Marty Walsh, went back to the fucking companies and forced them to offer paid sick leave. Okay? They did that, which is why there are articles from the railroad unions themselves after this November 21st, 2022 date that say that they celebrate the concessions that they were able to get. Here it is. U.S. rail companies grant paid sick days after public pressure in win for unions. This, or rather the failure of this to be presented as a solid W for the Biden administration, is once again the fault of the Biden administration, for sure. They should have communicated this to the public. But you should know better, because I've talked about this a million times over. Okay? One must ask the question why these railroad unions have endorsed the Democratic Party if they were so unhappy with it. A diverse coalition all impacted by the RLA, and only Rashida gives a damn about the rail workers. Your whole narrative on this is warped. 4 days is not a W. Dog, when Palestinians want something, I'm not going to sit here. I'm not going to sit here and be like, I'm outflanking the Palestinians on this issue, okay? When the railroad unions are happy with the concessions that were extracted from the companies, I'm not going to outflank them because Twitch chatters don't agree with the decision, okay? That's it. Yeah, we never stopped applying pressure. Hard-fought success on rail sick days. If you as a chatter have reservations about this, you can send me. Maybe I have not seen it. Maybe you've seen something that I am oblivious to and unfamiliar with, okay? But everything that I've read on the matter, shows that the unions were happy with any of the concessions that they were able to get, okay? Why push back against the Dems at all then? Because the Democrats are incredibly right-wing on immigration and have adopted the positions that the Republican Party held on to during in the 2020 race. And also beyond that, I don't know if you guys know this, but they're funding and facilitating a genocide with your tax dollars. So obviously, I'm always going to be honest with you. Backpedaling Andy, I think you're too stupid to understand anything that I'm talking about here. What do I always tell you? I will always be honest with you. If you ask me what the Democrats are doing in terms of of how they fought for workers' rights, okay, they are significantly better, not only better than the alternative, but significantly better than previous Democrat administrations. Following since 2019, yeah, that's probably a Divorcelli fan. You always eat this bait. Do you get bored of doing this 1,000 times? I don't think it's bait when there is plenty of people, plenty of new people that literally come back and say the same thing, okay? It would be bait if many people didn't just see this, okay, and never this. That's the problem. And it's not for you because you've heard it a million times over. For me, it's for all the people that haven't heard it yet. Oh, that one chatter that said the railroad unions actually hated this contract has not given me an actual link or any kind of communications from a railroad labor union that openly said they hate the contract. Okay? I'm waiting for it. Anyway, I disagree with the assessment that the Democratic Party focuses on too much culture war narratives, and that's like inherently seen as bi-coastal elitist shit by labor union rank and filers, especially because, once again, labor unions are incredibly diverse. When people act like labor unions are comprised of hard hat wearing white working class reactionaries, they're stupid. They're running on a Nixon era anti-hippie messaging strategy from right-wing populists, okay? That is where it originally started. I hate this argument. It's very stupid. Labor unions are comprised of women who care about abortion. Labor unions are comprised of gay people who care about, gay rights. Labor unions are comprised of black and brown people, okay? But yeah. On cultural issues, too, is the case many workers feel deeply alienated from the liberal perspective. In conversation with Teamster members and officers, it's clear that even among Democrats and Harris supporters, there's a frustration and wariness towards many of the cultural positions Democrats endorse and how those positions are defended. Until the party is able to change this image and truly identify with the working class on economic as well as cultural terms, we should expect to see continued deterioration of working class support for Democratic candidates. The real problem with the Democratic Party is that they do not communicate to working class problems. They don't even communicate the culture war issues that much any longer anyway. They just basically are running on vibes, okay? We are not Trump, and we are doing vibes. That's all they're doing. I'm not sitting here and telling you that the Democrats are running a good campaign, one that is an objectively pro-worker campaign. But if you look at the track record of the Democratic Party, especially in these past 4 years, in terms of domestic labor issues, they are far better than every other contemporary U.S. administration. It is not even a question, okay? The truth is still the truth. I'm sorry. You know, if that's the calculation that you're doing, then that's, you know, that's fair. Oh my God, Brandon broke a strike, Lamau. I'm going to Brian kill me. I'm going to Brian kill me. Okay. For a lot of people, if the education that you get on labor issues exclusively relies on a TikTok video that you watched, and you're going to come in here and repeat it to me, a person that TikToker probably watched and didn't watch ever again, you're not going to see the full picture. Okay? I'm sorry, chatters, but you are wrong on this. And I have repeated it so many times that I literally repeated it 3 minutes ago. Okay? 3 minutes that I could have used serving an ad break. Oh my God, everyone is... There it is. This isn't even the right one. This isn't the right article. Anyway. Here's the 3-minute ad break now. Okay, I'm not going to repeat myself one more time on this issue. Let's hear what he has to say.
Oh, when you have an audience, you can influence that audience. We figured that was going to lean heavily towards President Biden, and it didn't lean heavily towards him. And then we did the poll where 40,000 of our members participated in that. That's a 60% poll, the other 58% poll that you see. And then we did the research-based polls. And you know, 2 out of those 3 polls leaned Republican. So again, I'll get back to, there's a lot of work that got to be done. Our members...
One of the things that frustrates me about this stuff is that, like, it is perfectly valid to demand more from the Democratic Party. It's the good thing to do. It's the right thing to do. But if you're going to drop it, this took 2 seconds to find. Wait, what? The rail workers did not get everything they asked for when Biden broke the rail strike. Your answer to this is literally a Reddit vent, dude. Like, how is this is just an effort posting chatter at that point. To which the response was, Biden deserves a lot of the credit for achieving this goal for us, from the IBEV railroad director. He and his team continue to work behind the scenes to get the rail labor a fair agreement for paid sick leave. We're thankful to the Biden administration, played the long game on sick days and stuck with us for months after Congress imposed our updated national agreement. It's a purple link because I've showed this goddamn link a million times on this broadcast whenever people come in here, because I've shown this link literally 5 minutes ago. In this situation, if you're a railroad union member, a rank and filer, and you have issues with the new agreement that you, I guess, democratically ratified, that's one thing, because that's what happened. Okay? And this happens all the time. There are tentative agreements, and then there are concessions, there's back and forth, there are negotiations that take place, and then contracts are brought back by the union leadership that's democratically elected to the rank and filers. Okay? And the rank and file vote to ratify the contract. Do you understand? And in that process, there are people who wanted more, for sure. They want more. And that's perfectly understandable. But if we're having a conversation about like what the union's opinion is across the board, the union's opinion across the board are that they are happy with at least some of the concessions that they were able to get due to the consistent pressure that they say the Biden administration put on the railroad companies. Okay? At that point, I feel like y'all are just like, you know, you're outflanking the rank and filers. That's it. Broski, it was just for information. My B. Let's move on. Even now, I'm getting cancer from this. Thanks, Broski. Let's get back to Sean O'Brien's hog ass.
Are paying attention. And again, a no endorsement, I think, sends a message to both parties that if they truly want to support working people, they have to reevaluate it and understand that nothing is given, it is earned.
All right, I don't mean to disrespect here, but no endorsement also means you can have it both ways, and you're not taking a stand.
No, we're not looking to have it both ways at all. I take a stand every day. I call balls and strikes. You know, there's some great Democrats that supported us. President Biden, passed pension legislation that fixed our pensions. But the reality of it is, again, I've said this time and time again, they fix problems that were created a long time ago. Trucking deregulation cost 400,000 Teamster jobs. Companies went into bankruptcy, which destroyed pension funds. So, you know, although they fixed the problem, you know, some of us created those problems that had to be fixed. And, you know, look, it's different times. Our members are different. A lot of people, there's a lot of social issues out there where sometimes our members are focused clearly on the social issues. Not taking a position is not having it both ways. This country is divided down the middle. It's my goal, just like we've done with our union, is to bring this together, work bipartisan, and get some stuff done, like the PRO Act, like bankruptcy reform, and other issues.
If he gets a single Republican vote on the PRO Act, I'll eat my hat. Okay? Like, he thinks Josh Hawley's going to vote for it. You know what I mean?
Issues that affect our members.
You know, did this turn in any way, Sean? I think you were critical of President Trump after his interview where he was going back and forth with Elon Musk and others about when you can fire, get rid of workers, and that he admired that ability. And
it's always funny when what's his face, Neil Cavato, is like being more woke than Sean O'Brien. This is not the first time this has happened. When the Fox News guy's like, how do you contend with the fact that the guy that you're like kind of hyping up laughed about, striking workers being fired, which is, illegal. Just illegal.
And you were quite vehement about it. And I just thought that might have represented a turning point.
Yeah, I mean, obviously words have consequences, right? Statements have consequences. And I called former President Trump out, just like I would call anybody else that tries to retaliate or make fun of people being terminated for exercising their right to strike. But when we asked both candidates in the presidential forum roundtables about supporting our railway workers and workers that are under the RLA to strike and not interfere, we couldn't get strong commitments from either candidate. So, that was a major factor in our decision making. But back to your point, unacceptable for anybody to fire workers for exercising their right and or gloat about it. So and it's no secret, I'm not a big fan of Elon Musk.
Okay, that I do remember. But let me then step back and get your thoughts on that relationship, because Elon Musk apparently might have a great sway in a potential Trump administration. And even when it comes to looking at the government books and looking at how the government spends its money, did that weigh in?
Yeah.
Yeah. Famously, if given the opportunity, Donald Trump would be like, oh, dude, the RLA, I love that. Definitely. So one must look at in between these two candidates, like if neither are saying that, if neither are supporting railroad labor unions after exhausting all options, being given the opportunity to strike, if neither candidate supports that, what are the actual things that you're getting from potentially Donald Trump? Like what? What are the things? Like, is there anything at all? Is there anything that you can ever get from Donald Trump at all?
Yeah, I mean, look, we can't look to see ghosts. I've got 1.3 million of the strongest people in the world, and that's our rank and file members. And, although there may be a difference of opinions or there may be criticisms, if we have to go to fight with corporate America and the Elon Musk of the world, I like my chances.
Okay, so let me just get a sense of where you go from here. Because your colleagues at other unions, by and large, have been going hook, line, and sinker for Kamala Harris. And I know your members, when polled on this, and I know these can be erratic polls, they're not scientific polls, I know how they go, liked Joe Biden a lot more than Kamala Harris. Is that true?
Joe Biden, I think they polled consistently in our polls. I can't speak for anything else. But, they polled about 25% to 30% popularity with our members consistently.
So I'm sorry, compared to President Trump, though, he scored higher, did he not?
He scored higher. He did, yes.
Okay. Kamala Harris does not.
No, she does not.
So they're not psyched about her. They're more psyched about Donald Trump.
I don't think they're psyched about both candidates. You know, there's issues that are specific to.
Dude, you are the leader of one of the largest labor unions in North America. Like, if your rank and file is not excited about one candidate over the other, like, it is your job to at least show the different ways in which either party would be helpful for just one cause and one cause only: doing right by your rank and file workers. I feel like I'm crazy for, like, the communication here is a little ridiculous. There is no world in which any labor union should ever even remotely stand alongside Donald Trump. I've been saying this from the start. Like, when he first met with Trump, I was like, oh my God, here we go.
What our members want and need. And, you know, this polling wasn't just a vote. There were issues and questions posed within this polling that our members asked. So, you know, I think this process, and I guess, you know, I'll get back to, you know, people are sick of it. People are sick of the name calling. People are sick of tearing each other apart because they support one candidate versus the other. And I think it's just, you know, people are fed up and they want it over with. I want it over with, to be honest with you. We do great work. We negotiate the strongest contracts. We're organizing thousands of members each month. That's what our focus needs to be on.
All right. AFL-CIO, United Auto Workers Union, they're strong Democrat. They're going for Kamala Harris. Service workers, maybe because of Donald Trump and you know, the original proponent of getting rid of the tax on tips, seems to lean his way.
If your opinion is that we should not outflank the choice of the union and the rail contract, why are you willing to outflank Teamsters? He could be using his leverage to play both sides and try to push Kamala to give him a better deal. No, he hasn't communicated that at all. That's the problem. That's what my issue is. How do you not understand? Like, he's going on Fox News and he's basically saying, neither care about, like, the railroad workers being able to strike. Okay, so what is it then? What is the reason why you're on Fox News again and again and again, and you went to the RNC and you said, we proudly endorsed Ronald Reagan? I will never forgive him for saying that.
Is this an opportunity missed? Do you think you made a statement by not making a statement one way or the other for either candidate?
It's not an opportunity missed as far as we're concerned. It's an opportunity to obviously highlight that there's a problem politically with union members. And look, I polled my members. I released the data. I don't interfere in any other unions or their policies or procedures. But I can only speak for the Teamsters union. We're going to be transparent, and you know, I can't speak. If there's going to be criticisms from my peers in the labor movement, so be it. Our mission still stays the same. We're going to
he's talking about Sean Fain.
Be transparent and inclusive of the rank and file members.
All right. You didn't get a chance to speak to Democrats at their convention. You did to Republicans at their convention. Does any of that stick in your craw a little bit? That you know, you guys, I went the extra mile and you turned me down.
You know, my feelings don't get hurt easily, and they weren't hurt because I didn't get invited to the DNC. I went to the RNC with one agenda, and that was to highlight how important the American worker and the Teamster member is to this country. It wasn't an endorsement of either party, and if
they say the Democrats took our votes for granted, it's not a constructive way to discuss their attitude, I mean, that's not wrong. The Democratic Party does take their vote for granted. It is true. But, like, you have the podium. You should have a coherent strategy for why you are making this decision. Okay? Like, this makes no sense. Hasan, for real, you don't realize there's always been a massive battle by BIPOC, LGBTQ, and women against all the bigotry and union movements? I love woke wrecker splinter behavior when talking about, like, modern American unions, especially when, like, data does not reflect what you are talking about in current existing American labor unions. Okay? I love when I say something like, hey, I don't know if you guys know this, contrary to what the popular attitude is, The American labor movement and labor unions right now are incredibly diverse. Okay? Like, its historic significance is utterly irrelevant in this conversation that we're having in 2024. I don't think you are purposely trying to behave like a wrecker. All right, I've seen so many BIPOC queer women be leaders of Teamsters in the UAW. I'm banning you immediately, okay? I'm banning you immediately. Shut the fuck up, okay? Shut your bitch ass up, please. Please. Oh my God, dude. Labor union participation is unironically higher for black people than it is for white people in this country. And you still have rad libs chirping about, like, they're writing, oh my God, dude, root.com articles about how, like, BIPOC and LGBT people are not getting enough concessions extracted from their labor unions. It's like, dude, if you're a trans person in your goddamn labor union, they're still fighting for you. They're fighting so you can get your health care. They're fighting for you so you can get better paid sick leave. Like, trans people are not magical, okay? They don't exist in some otherworldly confines. They literally have the same material needs that you do. Black people working in unions have the same material needs that everyone else does, okay? I despise this kind of, like, smarmy, I'm woker than you wrecker attitude, especially when we're talking about labor unions and what contemporary labor unions currently look like. It is literally, it is straight up liberals unironically doing the exact same thing that Republicans do about labor unions. The goal is the same. I hate this, like, white working class ass sentiment expressed when talking about the American labor movement. Okay? What the are you saying? Hasan, I think you're misunderstanding, and this is a hard way to explain why. No, I'm not misunderstanding it, okay? It doesn't fucking matter if a black person is in charge of a labor union or a white person is in charge of a labor union. What the kind of neoliberal goddamn, like, diversity politics bullshit is this, okay? If they're democratically elected, they're democratically elected. This isn't a goddamn board in a company, okay? The fuck are you talking about? Shut the fuck up. Chatters are, like, signing off in the Pinkertons office, dude. Holy shit. Yeah. Remember when Barack Obama was democratically elected and he magically erased white supremacy? That was sick. You're doing the inverse of that exact same sentiment that the Jacobin article was, like, lightly leaning into, which is that labor unions are overwhelmingly comprised of white men, hard hat wearing white men who are tough and only care about real American patriotism. Okay? Real American patriotism. That's the only way to reach out to these guys. Like, you're just doing that. Black and Latina women help propel gains for unions in 2023, finds a new study. Of course. It's just not correct. Like, when you say the share of black and Latina women in unions went up slightly in 2023 from 10.3% to 10.5% for black women, 8.5 to 8.8 for Latina women. While these bumps look minor at a first glance, Anwisha Majumder, an economist with the MPWF who co-authored the analysis, described them as a step in the right direction, given that union membership overall has been plummeting over the years. Black and Latina women are leading union growth. Membership fell for white women from 9.5 to 9.3 and is steeper for Asian American women, 9.1 to 7.8. That is across the board happening for every demographic, by the way. Oh. Yeah, one of the worst aspects of this is, of course, the industry is dominated by women, specifically women of color, like domestic work, are very hard to unionize. Like, it's funny to say this, especially in a community like this one, where there's, like, you know, trans people, black people, queer people, Latino people that are in unions right now. Like, so someone who is not a member of a union coming in here and outwoking everybody and, like, denying their existence is so funny to me. Okay? But good job, guys. You're right.
Had the opportunity to speak at the DNC, the message would have been the same. Look, it's about fighting corporate America, fighting corporate greed, and holding politicians accountable. At the end of the day, You know, I've been told recently by Democrats and Republicans everything they do for us, and I appreciate it. But just like anything else, that's
The article does say right after that, it has been easier for women to unionize because of more women in leadership positions for unions. I don't have an issue of putting women of color or gay people in positions of power in labor unions. I have an issue with someone presenting that as like presenting the false reality that labor unions are not diverse because like they've only seen 3 high profile labor union members, labor union leaders, and they're all white men. So now they've like made up their minds about the diversity or lack thereof in labor unions, or even in the like negotiating committee or higher up in labor unions in general. Okay, that's what I have an issue with.
their job. That's what we elect them to do, and that's what they should be focused on. They shouldn't be telling us what they've done for us in the past. They should be focused on what they're going to do for us in the future.
All right, I'm reflecting on that one telephone poll. I don't mean to belabor it.
Oh my God. Okay. All right. I'm done with this.